solo gaming, dungeon crawling, roguelike, auto shooter. If those words mean anything to you, then you're probably going to be interested in what I have to say today. Because I've been developing a brand new game that I'm sharing for the very first time on this channel. And it fits all these categories. Hey guys, it's Jared from Studio Ardia. And as you just heard from that recap, I'm here to present a brand new game called Temple Survivor that I've been working on sort of in secret. And I'm ready to finally share it with the world and start talking about what it is. So Temple Survivor is a solo-only board game where you play as an adventurer trapped inside an ancient tomb, and the mummy's curse is in full swing, and mummies are rising from the dead and attacking you and defending their tomb, and your only goal is to survive and to escape. As explained in the intro, it's got a roguelike element, meaning when you die, you start over the game. And it's got auto shooting elements, meaning you've got weapons down here that activate automatically on your turn, and that's how you fight off the enemies. At the start of each new level or each new game, you will pick a level card, and the level card, or the dungeon card, tells you how to set up the tomb. And so here we've got level 1. It shows you where to put walls, shows you where to put items that you can pick up, shows you where to put enemies, treasure chests, as well as the sarcophagus. And the sarcophagus is what triggers the boss. You beat the level by defeating the boss. Basically, on your turn, so blue cards, any blue cards you have, those are action cards, and you get 3 actions. So at the start of the game, at least in the current version, your only action is movement, and you can move 1 space orthogonally, which means up, down, left, right. And at the start, you also get to pick between 2 weapons, those being the torch and the revolver, and you can see their abilities listed here. Your weapons activate every turn once regardless. Well, not every turn. You see this number on the top says 1. This means it does activate every turn. If it says 2, it activates every other turn. If it says 4, it activates every 4 turns. And that's kept track here on the turn clock. So that's basically how long those weapons take to reload or reset to be usable again. We have these little blockers. These are just basic for now. And you move these down the cards as you go, because you are able to upgrade your cards. So you're basically unlocking a more powerful version of the current ability. So this movement card, if you upgrade it, you get to move 1 space in any direction, so that would include diagonals. And in this case, the revolver will be able to shoot in 2 directions. And you can see these helpful little diagrams. You've got a grid, and red squares are usually where that card is effective, and if there's different shades of red, it usually is related to different levels of upgrades. So as you're going through, you could just go straight for the boss and fight, but you could also try to defeat enemies and collect items. And these items increase your health, they give you experience, they might give you keys, which lead you to treasure chests, and that's partially unfinished right now, but treasure chests are supposed to give you artifacts, which are like additional single-use cards or abilities they can use to sort of get yourself out of a pinch. And as you collect experience, you level up. So these little gems are experience. Once they've totaled to 8, you level up. And leveling up gives you a few options. You can either get more health, you can upgrade a card, or if you have available slots, you can obtain a new weapon card. Basically, you get 1 card in each slot until the card is fully upgraded. So I could only get a 2 or a 4 slot until this revolver is fully upgraded, and then I could get a level 3 or a level 1 again. If you die in the game, you start over, but you're able to spend some of the points that you gain during the game to get meta upgrades, which are upgrades that are permanent. And in the print version of the game, there will be cards referring to those upgrades and a marker that you can mark. And there'll be several copies so you can play multiple times through the game. So I'm going to go in and just show you the basics of how things work. So we start here. This is our character. That is also indicated on the level setup. On our turn, we take our 3 actions, or as many, up to 3, as many as we want, and then our weapons activate, and then the turn advances, and the enemies get a turn. In this case, there's not a lot too much going on, so I'm going to start heading towards some of our objectives. So 1, 2, 3, we'll just make a straight movement, and then the revolver activates, but there's no weapon, there's no enemies within range, so it just shoots off into the distance. And then we move the timer here. We know enemies get their turn. When the timer reaches back around to this skull symbol, that means that new enemies spawn, and I'll explain that in a moment. So enemies can move diagonally, so they move on the closest path towards the player, and if there's a bunch of enemies clumped up, then enemies with a higher value or a higher level will move first. So that's the enemy's turn. Simple as that. They all move towards me. My turn again. I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3. I get to investigate what this is, but it does take an action to actually reach or actually obtain this item. Well, I'd have to be on the spot. That's what I mean. So actually, I mean, just for demonstration purposes, if I were to line myself up with one of these enemies, let's see if I can do that. I don't think I actually can. As you can see on the revolver here, I have to have, you know, my gun shoots at perfect diagonals. If you've ever played auto shooter games before, that's a big part of the game, is your weapons shooting in specific patterns, and then you have to, you know, account for that in your movement across the board. So 1, 2, 3, yeah, I don't think I can quite make it to any of these paths, so I'll just continue with what I was doing. So I can investigate what this is. It's a gem, which means if it's a gem on the board that you find, it's basically a free level up. Alright, another turn for the enemies. So you might notice the enemies move diagonally, you can't. So in a movement to movement sense, they sort of have an advantage over you. So you really got to be careful about how you move about the board, because you have 3 movements, so you can move further than an enemy, but, and then of course you can upgrade the movement, which will help a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on here and snag our upgrade. I'll just put that to the side. And then I think for my upgrade, I'm going to choose to level up my revolver. And then we have 2 actions left. Maybe I'll move towards this chest, and we get the turn of enemies. Bom, bom, bom. So first, enemies move, current enemies. So enemies, of course, cannot pass through walls, neither can any of your attacks. And actually any of the objects on the board block your attacks, just to simplify things, because these, you know, these look pretty similar to that, and it can just get confusing if you start to make too many exceptions. So now we've of course hit the skull symbol. So what that means, basically you add up enemies equal to the round, starting with the highest enemy that you can get. In this case that would just be 1, because it's round 1. So here in the digital version, I've just been kind of lazy, and I've been tracking the rounds with just these little chips. I intend to add a round tracker to the board, but the whole board size and shape is still a little bit fluid right now as I dial in the exact proportions for the the optimal play. So I'm just tracking it there. So basically, levels or enemies up to that sum will spawn at every spawn point, and these little holes are spawn points. In the case of level 1, we've only got 2 of them at the start. But you'll notice some of these tokens have spawn points on them. Of course, I'm giving myself a little preview, which is sort of cheating, but some of these things have spawn points on them, so if I flip those over, then more enemies will start to spawn, so you can see how things might escalate. In this case, just give myself a few more of these. We only have 1 and 1, so they will spawn on those spots, and they will not get a turn this round because they just spawned in. And we will proceed to round 2. So I'm just going to move 1, 2, and I'm going to use my revolver. I can finally get this guy. So because of this system we have of enemies, basically, I guess I should explain this. This number represents the level of the enemy, which basically represents their health. So in this case, my revolver says it does 1 damage in 2 directions. So I've done 1 damage to this enemy. So because we'll always have this system of enemies, level 1 enemies dying, or level 2 enemies flipping over, or higher level enemies, level 1 enemies do not offer experience. So experience actually drops when a level 2 enemy is flipped to a level 1 enemy. And then this, you draw from this bag of experience tokens, and it's placed on a nearby open space. And then that is it. So I chose not to complete all my movements because I activated my weapons, and so we will change this, and enemies will get a turn. So enemies will attack. They can only do 1 thing on their turn. So if they're within range of you, they will not move and attack. So in this case, they're, if he's still there on his next turn, and I'm still here, he could attack me, and then I would lose half a heart, which is all I have. So I will proceed with caution. I'm going to move here. We get to flip over and see what this is. We can see it's a key for chest number 2. Fortunately, if I go to get it, I won't be able to attack this guy, but maybe it's worth it. So I go there, I get the key. With the digital version, it's a little clunky, but I'll move to chest 2 and unlock it. So chest 2 and key 2 will move over to the side here because they're done. And I'm working on those artifact cards. Been testing them out. So but I don't actually have the cards written down. So let me go and just pick one of the abilities. Well, there'll be no way to keep track of it. In this case, I'm going to write this down. So I'm still working on those artifact cards. I don't have a physical representation of them right here. So I'm just going to draw myself 2 experience for the treasure chest. So you can see I have a total of 3 now. Once I get to 8, I get to level up. So it's quite a bit of a challenge to level up. Move on to the next enemy turn. Alright, and I would like to gather this experience, but it's a little far away, and also defeat these enemies, so if I do 1, 2, 3, and I can use my gun and take out this guy. Just go off the board. No one else in range. So that'll be the conclusion of my turn. You can see how this moves pretty fast. So really, the point, the challenge is these enemies start to pile up. You have to make strategic decisions about how quickly you're going to be able to get things done, before activating and defeating the boss, and also moving strategically throughout the board to avoid the enemies. So now we're on round 2, so we'll put level 2 enemies at every spot. And then round 3, we have level 3 enemies. If you get above level 4, then we'd put a level 4 enemy and a level 1, like if we were on level 5. That's what we would do. And I'm just gonna go into the zone here. I might make a few notes on things, but just give you a little bit of demonstration of how the gameplay would go. So we spawned the enemies. I think we got hasty there, and the enemies didn't have their turn. Maybe they did. Yeah, they did. No, they didn't. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Actually there. Ah, just missed those guys. Oh, I can hit this guy. So we get another experience. These experiences are numbered 1 through 4, and it's just a random draw. Or 1, they're actually 1, 2, and 4. There's no 3. Alright. This turn. 1, 2, 3. I guess, hold on. Yeah. Alright, nothing. Oh boy. So you can see I've backed myself into a corner a little bit here. I was going for this upgrade here, this item, and this experience, and these enemies drew in close. So I could move 1, 2, 3, or like 1, 2, 3. And of course, then they'd still be in range with only half a heart. So really all I can do, actually no, wait, I have my weapon though. So yeah, I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, pick this up. I'm gonna take a new weapon. So when you take a new weapon, you get to pick from 2 options. Oh, so I got an action. Move 1 adjacent enemy to an adjacent empty square, repel, or dagger, and attack in front of and behind me directly. Oh, I forgot to explain that. So each card has an arrow, and your little dude is outfitted with an arrow. So if you want to adjust the direction of your attacks, then you can rotate on your turn just freely as you move. So 1, 2, 3, revolver. Oh, I got these guys lined up for a perfect shot. Boom. This revolver, once it's hit something, it stops. Otherwise, it can extend infinitely in that direction. So if if these 2 weren't here, I could hit that guy from all the way up here. So yeah, I'm gonna stop blabbing. I'll show you some of the gameplay, and then I'll do a little wrap up at the end. Okay, so as you can see, I was stuck there for a while. I kind of got cornered in by these guys, and they actually got me. Um, in the next iteration, I'm going to add a blue card that allows you to dig. So you can dig through these walls. It'll take a few take more actions than just simply moving, but you can dig through. That way it's harder to get cornered and you're able to access these areas more easily, but it does take a risk of you staying in one spot for a longer period. But yeah, that's about it. It's fun. Trying to figure out where to go and figure out how to beat the enemies using the abilities you have while also surviving. So look forward to more updates about this game, and we'll see you on the channel.